very good morning to you. Welcome to Kusile Breakfast Show. Thank you so much for joining us this morning here on Eswatini TV. You know, Notsile, good morning to you. But you know what? I'm thinking to myself as I'm coming to work, it's the 4th of August. We are literally in the home stretch of the year, if you really think about it. And God has been great. And I'm saying that because I'm really reflecting on some of the circumstances that we normally see every year. I mean, we did see a couple of wins, which were strong, but not as severe as past years. In fact, even the casualties and the victims of these severe weather conditions were very, very minimal this year. And that is, you know, some of the things that I pray about and the things that I pray for when the year starts. Because, yeah, it's really, really gut-wrenching when you see those stories coming in.
Yeah, of which is nawusho nje ukuthi uyathandaza lena nomdzala wethu insuku kumele sisimbonge ukuthi livela kangwane linekuthula khona nathi mina nawe sisehleli la futhi ke namhla sisaphila officially abanye ke abakaliboni lelisuku lanamuhla so kusibusiso nje kwakona lokuthi namhla mina nawe sikhona anguvusele imbukelile mina bidonge nginothile sithole lolu hlelo Kusile Breakfast Show sibonga kakhulu ukuthi namuhla ukhethe kuvuka nathi leli hlelo ke sikupha nje indzaba letihamba embili kulamanye amave kanti ke kanye nakhona lapha ekhaya lesivuka nato nje namuhla tifaka ekhathi ukuthi kube nemkhumbi lobe sewuyacwila ke kulelinye lemalwandle la emhlabeni lapho khona lomkhumbi bowuthwele noma ke bowulayishe ema-migrants lango 154 la chamuka khona e-Ethiopia bekalibangise ke eveni lase-Yemen lokuvela ukuthi ke lena vele nje indlela letayelekile ukuthi ke ema-migrants ahambe ngawo alibangise emaveni lase-Middle East esifisa noko ehlelweni namhla umbukela ngagatha ukuthi sitamlethela tindzaba letifaka ekhathi leto letendeka lapha ekhaya Eswatini kwadisa ukuthi letifaka ekhathi ukuthi ke umlisa naye uhambile u7 letter Pakistan so ke sitawuthola nje update ngelhambo lwakhe kanti ke kulokunye umbukela ngagatha ukuthi ehlelweni namuhla sitawuxoxisana nebafundi labachamuka enyuvesi yakuleli ligatsha lase-UNESWA lapho khona bekunemchuthelwano ngalesihlanu we-Enactus lapho ke ligatsha lase-UNESWA labe siselihamba embili kusho ukuthi inyalo emabombo sekabhekise khona eThailand lapho khona bayochuthelana ku-Enactus World Cup.
The Inguyama Cup prize presentation took center stage last week at Mavuso Trade Center, hall number 1, of course, graced by His Majesty the King, who officially presented the checks to the winners from this past Inguyama Cup. I do want to mention Eswatini TV walked away with the best broadcast media. So we want to reflect on that day as well as the other winners because it also speaks to the next tournament as well as the season that is soon coming. Some really interesting conversations and some sessions that were made, promises made by some of the coaches, by the the board of Inguyama Cup. Looking forward to the next one. The chairperson, Mbanengosi Hlangabeza, spoke to this one, reflecting on it, this one that we just came from, as well as looked to the next one with some of the amendments they want to make, of course taking accountability of some of the mishaps that were there, but also the big thing was celebrating the beauty that eventuated with the past Inguyama Cup. So we do want to reflect on the prize presentation and pinpoint and pick some of the most important moments and pronouncements there, and have a conversation with our journalist, Fabrice Msonera, who is very keen to have this conversation because local is lekker, and exactly it is that conversation that we like to have. Local football in Eswatini. A conversation around women football has emerged around, what they really got to receive in terms of the funds and the prizes, and the prize monies. A lot of people are not really satisfied with how much they are getting. But I suppose it's a global conversation, Mbugeli, because it's the same conversation happening in the National Basketball Association in America. The Women National Basketball Association side has been complaining about how much they are receiving in terms of funds. But that conversation is happening at 7:30 with Fabrice Msonera.
Singaqhubeka nehlelo ngolumuhle asase kubuka nati tihloko leti khona emaphephandzabeni lamuhla ekuseni. making headlines on the Times of Eswatini this morning. Eswatini is looking to invest in Mozambican energy projects. Well, this is after His Majesty King Mswati III toured a facility with a delegation comprising of cabinet ministers Emazinyane in Mozambique. Also, in another headline the new entity won't hike cost of medical drugs. This is after the Minister of Health has unpacked the Central Medical Stores transformation, whereas there's an agency to cut middlemen, explore other options worldwide, and clear payment timelines, health insurance plan in the pipeline. Another headline there, shop units, warehouse, bottle store for sale. In another headline, in Bali, gears up for Umhlanga. It is one of my favorite months of the year. It is August, so you know we're looking forward to seeing the beauty of our Imbali regiment. And also in another headline there, from suicide to murder, men arrested for girlfriend poisoning.
All right, Times of Eswatini Sports. The top story there, following contract extension at Zesco. It is over 500,000 Malangeni sign-on fee for Linda. This is happening in a new 2-year mega deal. The Eswatini International is set to earn about 60,000 Malangeni per month, and this is excluding bonuses. All right, it was very, very charming deal there. On another one, over 10 European golfers for the FNB Golf Challenge. And then Amorim targets 20-year stay at Manchester United, bringing it closer to home. Sundowns power into MTN 8 semi-finals. This is after they beat Richards Bay 4-0.
On the Eswatini Observer this morning, the headline says, gun-toting chief demolishes widow's structure. This is after 320,000 Malangeni property destroyed weeks after husband's death in bitter boundary war. Residents stunned as structure had legal approval, King's consent. In another headline, Fair Play applauds Eswatini's strategic diplomacy with the US. And what a weekend, Sifiso, you know, if you're scrolling through your social media this weekend, you may have seen the outfits and some of the attendees participating, enjoying this year's Luju Festival. So the headline you can expect is Gamo turns Luju into a dance frenzy.
Tell you what, I didn't have to scroll to see the outfits. I was there in person,
there.
really marveling some of those outfits there.
The creativity.
Really beautiful stuff. Eswatini Observer Sports, cross-border clash for Mbabane Giants, Birds for Angola. The local side is to play 8 teams, and Angolan competition will give teams competitive edge. Other stories are Bull in Royal AM colours in pre-season friendly, while Siphiwe Kuhle wins bronze at Africa Games. Zwide Bin are linked with Buffaloes. The former Moneni Pirates duo Mazwi Zwide Slongonyane and Pumlani Bin Shongwe linked with move to Army side Young Buffaloes. While the last story speaks to the Wesleyans, who say it feels good to be back. That's Manzini Wanderers. Right, it's 7 minutes after 6. You're watching Kusile Breakfast Show here on Eswatini TV. Thank you for staying with us.
Nasibuya, sitawubuya netindzaba tekucala kusuku.
Ngiyafuna nasi. Asashone ma. Kude lo dawa tekuthula la ngamanyasa. Cha manje.
Ngiyaxolisa mle.
Ngeke phela lokulezama ukubalekela. Ukuthi singumndeni simunye. Sivale kwazana sonke.
Yini lamanyana lawa wena uyaphila kahle la?
No.
Angeke uyimele le mpilo ufuna kuyisusa. Utawushaka kabuhlungu.
What the hell is going on? Don't touch me. What is she doing here?
Angicabanga sinecabanga sisile le nto le. Angesabi impi mina baba. I need to talk to her. Sorry.
Manje, kokhula sitagcina sibonela sejubile nyana.
Hi, sweetie. Unjani?
I'm pissed.
Ngwanelo muhle angiphinze ngomukele Kusile Breakfast Show lapha ka Eswatini TV sitawutfokotela ke nathi tindzaba tetfu tesiswati. Silo semhlaba sesisukile eveni leMozambique sachubekela eveni leTurkmenistan lapho khona siyakungenela umhlangano webaholi bemave lasemkhatsini kwalamanye wakamhlaba United Nations Conference on Landlocked Developing Countries. Ingonyama ifike kulela live isingethwe inkosikazi Makela Motsa.
Ekubeni umsebenzi wengonyama ufike emaphethelweni eveni leMozambique, silo semhlaba sibe sesichubekela lapha eveni leTurkmenistan. Silo semhlaba besisingethwe yinkosikazi Makela Motsa. Ekunyatheleni kwayo imbubo emhlaba kulelive yemukelwe ngilonxusele live leSwatini enhlanganweni yakamhlaba eNew York, His Excellency Thami Dlamini kanye nalabanye labakhulu embusweni welive leTurkmenistan. Ingonyama ikuleli kutawungenela umhlangano nalabanye baholi bemave wesithathu wemave lasemkhathini kwalamanye aphindze futhi abebedelwandle lasathuthuka lowatiwa ngele United Nations Conference on Landlocked Developing Countries. Lo mhlangano lutawubanjelwa edolobheni i-Awaza ubheke ukuthi unikete lamave lithuba lekuphuma netisombululo kanye netinqumo tekubambisana ekunqobeni tinkinga latikhungethe kanye nekubuketa inqubekela phambili yemphumelelo nelukusasa lawo. Imbubo yemhlaba nebaholi bemave batawuhlangana kulo mhlangano ngephansi kwesicubulo lesithi Driving Progress Through Partnerships. Libhubezi libheke ukuthi libhodleke kulo mhlangano. Labasingethe ingonyama kulolu hambo ngumvanenkosi Mlayeto, umvanenkosi Ncobile, Sikhulu Zakaria Dlamini, nendvuna yetangephandle nekubambisana lamanye emave impungapholi leShakhantu. Kulo mhlangano kusadingidwa kabantu emasu netisombululo tetinkinga letikhungethe emave lasemkhathini kwalamave aphindze abebedelwandle lasathuthuka. LeSwatini litawuba yingxenye yemhlangano lesemaceleni. Atindzabeni kubika Pholi Lemazia anamxolisi Mavimbela eTurkmenistan.
Indvuna yelitiko letinkhundla umhlonishwa Sikhumbuzo Dlamini ithi kuphumelela kwemisebenzi lesekelwe sikhwama sekutfutfukisa tifundza kusekubambisaneni kwetinkhundla kanye nemiphakatsi. Bobabetikhulu nebantfu babenkhosi lababuka imimango bathi ngekungabambisani kwaletinhlangotsi letimbili lemisebenzi igcine seyiphelele endleleni.
Sikhwama sekuthuthukisa tifundza i-Regional Development Fund siyingxenye yetinhlelo telive letibuke kutfutfukisa live kusukela phansi emimangweni. Indvuna yetiko letinkhundla nekutfutfukiswa kwato umhlonishwa Sikhumbuzo Dlamini uthi kute le misebenzi lesekelwa ngulesikhwama ikhonze kumele libandla lenkhundla libambisane nendlunkulu lithathe izetindzabeni tentfutfuko.
Libandla lenkhundla likhethiwe kufaka ekhatsi na umhlonishwa lohamba embili nelibandla lenkhundla bajinge bakwati bakuhloniphe lo ukuthi vele livela kangwane indlela ethiwe kubusa ngetinkhundla ithi vele yonke into lesiyendako iyawuthi cayela emphakatsini umphakatsi wati ukuthi sesibheke phi nentuthuko. Ufuna ukugcizelela mvanenkosi ukuthi kucala emphakatsini kungakaye enkhundleni. Siyaphathisa ke lo ukuthi bekunene kuhlonipheni lokho nikwati nati lokuthi sibuso senu sekusebenta sila endlunkulu manifuna ukuthi imisebenzi inihambele kahle kuyaba mgcoka ukuthi vele nicala endlunkulu tinganesweli tindlunkulu.
Bobabe tikhulu nebantfu abenkosi lababuke imimango labacocisena lomsakade elicingweni bathi leminye lemisebenzi uma kude kubambisana igcine ifile.
Lama projects le siwathola khona enkundleni isikhathi esiningi abese aya collapse. Kubangelwa yini lokho? Kubangelwa ngilokho ukuthi kungade kwalandzeleleka kahle siwabonile nje phinde nangingabhekisa lakithi sike saniketwa isigayo inhlangano yakithi lapha beniketwa isigayo asathi ukuthi lamalunga kwabe sekwenzekani bagcina sekusele umndeni la lesibuka ke lokuthi uma kutawuba khona lokubambisana ebandleni lenkundla kanye nemphakathi awutawusebenzela kahle. Any development icala edlunguwe yiwo nje sinalo copho lo dasiphuthela izabatentuthuko naleli bandla lakhe mhlawumbe le development committee leliyalisebenzela emangweni dihambe ngaye ke ucela tikhwama enkundleni yiwo lokungazi ukuthi vele kufanele ukubambisana kube khona kube kukhulu kangangakube mhlambe naye minister nje ahle avakasha nje sokuthatheka sibantu bemango.
Litiko letinkundla kuqinisekisa eMaswati ukuthi azuza ngalokufanele kulesikhwama lisebenta imigomo lemisha lesikhwama. Lobikako nguSamkelisiwe Khoza eMbabane.
Umphathi wenhlangano yabosomabhizinisi inathi Dlamini uthi le nhlangano ibambe umhlangano nabosomabhizinisi kulungiselela kukhula kwemthelo wempahla lethengiswa eveni leMelika kude-ke lungathikabeteki luhlelo lokuthengisa impahla kulela live. Dlamini uthi lokukhula ngalokulishumi ekhulwini kwalomthelo kungahle-ke kuthikabetele izinga lokuthengwa kwempahla yakuleli khona eveni leMelika.
Sihlangene nje sibosomabhizinisi a week ago sabuka ukuthi bambambamba kubhekwaphi saqhamuka nema-3 wama-scenario. One sayibida ukuthi best case scenario ukuthi kutabanga 0. The second scenario lesiqhamuka nayo yayithi-ke kutabanga 10%. Sabe sita nalenye-ke third scenario which we called it the left field scenario. We thought it could be any number from there upward. That's come out of the number that because now we are tibonela ukuthi ngalendlela lama tariffs labawafaka ngawo kulamave good science behind it. Lapha kunene ukuthi i-US enjoy surplus nut. So asiboni kunesidingala ukuthi bese basipanisha ngama tariffs kanti ba enjoy i-surplus. Kube mhlambe bane deficit nut. Babe ngefa lokuthi bafakelana le deficit. Sine ngala ngasekhaya kude lesokubhadala ngilabantu labathenga kithi ababapanshako leti hlobo tethu letithenga la kithi nase babapanisha ke bese nabo ke sebanciphisa lama order ngala ngakithi nabanciphisa ke sekuyasikhinyabela.
Ayikabahambeli kahle ibhizinisi bosomabhizinisi labancane lebe bathengisa ngaphandle kweligede emcimbini wetemculo iLuju Food and Lifestyle Festival obewubanjelwe eHouse on Fire eMalkens. Labo somabhizinisi bakhale ngekungasekeleki kahle litekete ingolongwane tesive lebe singenele lo mcimbi lothatha emalanga lamabili besiphithidela.
Njengoba lo mcimbi ukhangete inkulungwane tesive letisuka kuleli nalesiqhamuka ngaphandle kwakuleli bosomabhizinisi labayaye bathatha lithuba lekuthengisa ngaphandle kwemagede yalo mcimbi bathi bebagadze ukuthi batawuthengelwa ngalokujabulisako njengaleminye iminyaka noko wakukahambi kanjalo. Labo somabhizinisi bebathengisa kudla tinatho kanye nalokunye.
Bengitothatha emaphuba naloku kulukhulu kangaka security lana bafuna sidayise siyazama ngoba nako asifuna ukuthi sibe netinkinga ukuthi sigcine sesiganga sidayisa tinkingela ngedayise emarasheli ngejana nje siyazama inkinga yakhona angiyitholi isupport kakhulu eMaswatini
kude lonyaka akufana nomnyaka ophelile nebantu nje aba-attend njengomnyaka ophelile namhlaba sithengele kakhulu kude mbamba nje besithi namuhla kutaba ngcono ngoba yi-Saturday but kude.
Uyabona nje inyama solo igcwele ema-price stand solo sifikile nje inyama yakucala lento sayifana nasemnyakeni. Eminyakeni lesikhathi lesingabe sesishintshe kaningi la i-price stand ngabe sesishintshe kaningi disefo manje ke phela lonyaka solo sifika ngabo-2 solo sosayena.
Ngite ngidawusebenta nginte mobile money ne-chicken dust. Lonyaka kuyamfifa abantu bathenga kancane angathi kwenziwa yini ngani kuphela kwenyanga manje expect ukuthi batawuthenga.
Lonyaka ibhizinisi ihamba ngendlela lengasiko right. Lesinye isikhathi sithi siya kulama-business lamakhulu nje like labo Biggest Braai, nalabo Luju, yabo. Letinto leti thina eMaSwati asikhoni lokumukeleka esibosomabhizinisi, thina bosomabhizinisi labancane.
Sinebamfana lokumele sibafundzise, asikhoni kubafundzisa sebaze bahleli nasemakhaya.
Umehluko lobonakele kulomcimbi ukuthi sive sibonakale singenele emalayini lamathe kuyothenga kudla kulabo somabhizinisi labancane labe bathengisela ngekhathi kulomcimbi. Sichubeka nekujabulela umculo lebe uniketwa etinzaweni letihlukene kuye ngemuntu ukuthi uthanza hlobo luni. Lapho bahlabeleli bakuleli nebangephandle bakhangise khona ngemakhono abo. Kubika Mbongwa Dube eMalkens.
So etfulwe ngalokusemthethweni umgwaqo longu 1.12 kilometers lowehlukanisa umhlaba wetakhiwo temabhizinisi edolobheni eBuhleni kulandzela ukuthi kufike emaphethelweni isigaba sesibili lakhona ke uhulumende afaka imali elinganiselwa ku-15 million emalangeni. Kanti-ke losabambe kuba ngumphathi welidolobha laseBuhleni Gordon Mbuli uthi lo mgwaqo lekubhekeke ukuthi wakhiwe ngetigaba letisihlanu esigabeni-ke sesithathu ukuthi awukwakhiwa yona imivila yekuhamba. Kanti-ke kubuye uphindze-ke wabuya wakhutsata nabosomabhizinisi labaniketwa lo mhlaba ukuthi sale bacala kusukumisa letakhiwo.
Amuzungwenya egameni lamabhalane lomkhulu etiko letindlu nekuthuthukiswa kwamadolobha uthi kubambisana ngiko lokuholela imisebenzi lefana nalena emphumelelweni.
Sinyalo nje naso ukubuka lapha kwakha sithombe esihle endaweni yaseBuhleni liyakhombisa ukuthi lenzawo iyathuthuka. Sidinga ukuthi konke kwenteka ngesikhathi kunale teamwork kunaba khona kusebenzisana without ukusebenzisana kubabende impumelelo.
Kanti losabambe kuba ngumphathi welidolobha laseBuhleni Gordon Mbuli wendlulise emavi ekubonga kuhulumende ngekuchubeka nekubambisa leli dolobha lisathuthuka.
Siyabonga nje uhulumende kumaphakelo a25-26 usinikile 20 million lotawuqala lebesibhenzi utawuqala masinyane leyo project leyo nakhona ikwakha lomgwaqo. Sibhekile sibonke leba ingwenyama leyababusisa ngemhlaba lapha eBuhleni ukuthi bevele base baqala basebenta bakha leyo mabhizinisi lebawathembisa sebatawakha. Siyethembisa ke kuhulumende ukuthi sidalokuwe sigadze kakhulu lempahla lenisinika yona.
Sokontraka lebekatse aniketwe lomsebenzi ubonge sona sive nelidolobha ngekumbambisa asachuba lomsebenzi ute utsimate ufike kulesigaba.
Greatly appreciate ukuthi nesinike opportunity to unleash lesakufunza ema-college njengemaSwati sena umsebenzi wahulumende lengicabanga ukuthi vele emaSwati onke ayadeserva uma khona kwenda umsebenzi lokuncikabo.
Simon Makakula lokhulumela isigodlo uthumise intuthuko lebonakala isachubeka kuleli dolobha laseBuhleni.
Sekuhle nje impela umsebenzi uyachubeka futhi siyalibona idolobha lakithi litaba lihle ngalendlela lesibona kwenziwa ngayo. Ngoba naso ulahleka wakhona khona kuyasho ukuthi kuyasenjelwa.
Lo msebenzi ke kubheke ukuthi ungene esigabeni sesine kulomnyaka imali losedulumu. Umbiko umuthabiso maphanga eBuhleni.
Sikolo lesincane sase-Hereford semukele ngalokusemthethweni ingwedle mandi lahlobile lesebenzisa gesi lophehlwa ngelilanga leyakhiwe ngelusito lwebafunzi lapho-ke labenta tebunjiniyela even lemelika lababambisene nebaka-microproject Eswatini. Lo msebenzi ukhombisa imiphumela lemihle ekubambisana kwelive lemelika nelive leswatini ekucinisekiseni ukuthi wonke umntfwana uyafinyelela emandini lahlobile nalahlantekile kude kucinisekise imfundo lekhonsako. Kanti-ke ngekusho komcondzisi waka-microproject Eswatini Sibusiso Mbingu kusebenta ngekubambisana ngiko lokuphumelelise lo msebenzi.
Amuzungwenya ngomcondzisi wa-microprojects ubonge kubambisana lokube khona emkhatsini webatali sikolwa kanye na-engineers in action kusachutshwa lo msebenzi.
Singakhohlwa ukubonga ingonyama inkosi iMswati wesithathu sithi bayethe wena waphakathi kusitfolela nathi tinini lesinato namuhla ngoba kunene uyaphuma ahambe umhlaba wonke kwethu nasebefikela bekunene ukuthi sibaphathe kahle.
Losabambe kubalisekela lalobuke temfundvo esifundeni sakawo Nsizwa Dlamini wendlulise emave kubonga ku-Engineers in Action ngekuchubeka nekubambisa tikolwa ikakhulukati endzabeni yemanti kulesifundza.
And thank you very much for expanding your project beyond building bridges to consider our schools. Once again, want to say thank you very much for that. Clean water is not just a resource, it is a foundation for health, dignity, and education.
Labafundzela tebunjiniyela eveni lemelika babonga imphatfo labaniketwe yona kanti-ke bayasho nekutsi kuningi labakufundzile ikakhulukati ngelive leSwatini.
We wanted to thank the parent volunteers who came to site with us every day to support our mission, and we wanted to thank them for their time and respect, allowing us to share our knowledge with them, and for allowing us to build this water system for their children.
We did not just build a water system, but this team has developed a deep connection to Swazi culture. Swazi men and women are extremely resilient, very caring, and very hardworking.
Umhlonishwa Sicelo Dlamini lilunga lephalamende Mayiwane utsi kumcoka kubambisana kwabothishelanhloko kanye netinkhundla kusathuthukiswa yona imimango.
Madam, now usebenta head teacher esikolweni. You should always make sure ukuthi you don't leave inkundla behind. Sibonga ke school committee kanye nelicommittee le project. Thank you so much. Kufaka emandla ukuthi lo msebenzi lo ufike ekugcineni.
Umphathi wesikolo se-Hereford's Primary School utsi lamanti bekatse bawalangatelela njengoba simo besibucayi kakhulu kulesikolo.
Namuhla sikhuluma ngemanti lahlobile. Lokusho ukuthi lokhu lesi-experience kokubulawa diso asiphindze sibe e-Hereford's Primary.
Microprojects kulesikolo-ke ubese unikela ngawo emasaka asimende ekwelekelela ikakhulukati ekwakheni tona tindlu tangansense. Umbiko nguthabiso maphanga eHerefords.
Kuphila kwesive emoyeni nasenyameni ngona-ke kungaqinisekisa ukukhula nekuthuthuka kwemakhaya kutemnotfo. Libandla lisimame nelive-ke libe nekuthula lokhu kushiwo ngumfundisi Hamilton Malaza welibandla le-Apostolic Faith Mission ezulwini ngesikhathi-ke lelibandla liniketa lusito lolwehlukene esiveni.
Libandla izulwini Apostolic Faith Mission lelula sandla ngekubambisana netinhlangano letihlukene kusiteni ummango wasezulwini ukuthi ube ngulophilile emtimbeni. Umfundisi walelibandla Hamilton Malaza uyachaza.
Lisondo ngilapho kuhlangana khona abantu labanengi labachamuka etindzawo letahlukene. Kuyasita ke lokuthi ke lemfundiso yetempilo isheshe ikhone kuhamba ngoba labantu banengi bala isondweni bahlangene empeleni vele bazana phela kwendeka bagule vele bawudzinge nje umjovo ngetulu kwemthandazo lesibathandazela wona. Nalaba betempilo babekwe uNkulunkulu nabo uNkulunkulu usinikete bona kuthi basisite.
Kanti-ke njengoba libandla liba nemkhokheli naye lonemthwalo wekululeka bomakethe egabeni letihlukene, make Simamile Malaza longumkhokheli naye bekahle letifundvo tabomakethe kubahlomisa ngelwati lwetintfo letihlupha ummango.
Bomake bayagulelwa ukhanza ukuthi banetimo lababhekenene nato khansi naye emtimbeni wakhe uphathekile kunetifo letitsite. Lokunye lesivundisana ngako kuhleleka nje ngekwetimali nekuhleleka nje nangesimo sengcondvo bo-mental health nako loko siyakubona setingcinamba lesibhekana nato singalwa kanjani nato sisachubeka sisakholwa sisakhonda uNkulunkulu.
Musa Dlamini weluhlangothi lolufundisa ngetempilo etiko letempilo uchaza ngebumcoka balomsebenzi njengoba athi uyasifaka sandla ekufezeni umgomo welive wekuba nesive lesiphilile.
eMaswati lala ayakhona ukuthi ahlole shukela, ahlole iBP, atati tinombolo, atati butse abati atsati nesindvo sakhe lokho kwenta ukuthi akhone kubese sonakekela impilo yakhe kangcono. Kanti ke futhi siyahlola nemdlavuza wemlomo wesibeletho kubomake, siyahlola namdlavuza wedlala labo babe. Baholi lokufaka ekhathi bona baholi bemabandla nebaholi bemimango nje etigodini siyakujabulela lokuthi sisebenzisane nabo.
Leli bandla libamba lo msebenzi nje umbiko wenhlangano yakamhlaba wetempilo iWorld Health Organization wangeminyaka wa 2019 uthi live leSwatini linensayeya yokuthi kubantu labashonako 46% wabo babulawa tifo letingathathelwana letifaka ekhatsi i-high nesifo sashukela. Kubika Mbongwa Dube ezulwini.
Kutemdlalo live laKangwane selitfole timendlela letimbili telitfusi nyalo letichamuka ecenjini lelimelele live emidlalweni yema-African School Games Championships. Imidlalo ke lechubeka eveni lase-Algeria. Kanti-ke kule timendlela yinye ichamuka emdlalweni we-taekwondo, kanti-ke lenye ichamuka emdlalweni wesibhakela. Ngakulokunye lobuketa inhlelo tekutfutfukisa kanye nekukhulisa ibhola enhlanganweni ye-Football Association Boy Mkhonda. Uthi luhlelo lwa-Build It Under 13 loluchubekako kuleli ngilo lolusita live kutsi kutfolakale badlali labancane belikhethelo lesive lema-Under 17. Mkhonda bekhuluma ngesikhathi loluhlelo luchubeka ebuhleni enkhundleni yetemidlalo yasemkhuzweni. Sitiphetsa kanjalo ndzabadetfu tesiswati sitabahlola etimakethe notsile utawubuya ne-interview lemnanzi masibuya.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna senze ukukhicita lokusembili.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Nangiyobeleka bekunalomnyesi nje satholana lesibhedlela singadani ukuthi sibelekele umuntu munye.
Ngisho ukuthi umntwana nyana ehluleka ngumuzi. Sathi ngathi umlahla.
Mine bengiphila impilo yokuhlala ngigijima ngaso sonke isikhathi ngekuba bede badala. Ngakumva nami ngitolala naye emapayipini kuNkulunkulu tosisifa.
Akabuyele emuva kakhulu nemaqiniso. Asuyanyaza tena. Angithethi. Into wathi ngimdala. Akasudlala lo mntwana ngayo.
Welcome back. Onto this conversation now. Their vision is bold, their impact is real, and their next destination, Thailand. Now we'll speak to the national Enactus champions who will be participating or representing the country at the Eswatini at the Enactus World Cup, an international platform where youth-led solutions take center stage promoting social entrepreneurship. I'm joined now in the studio by Nomvuyo Dlamini and Wiseman Masiga. A very good morning to you both. I must say you look like money already. I'd like to start here. Congratulations on the milestone, having to win the competition at national level. Now you get to go outside and represent the country. You're not just representing the country, you are representing the youth of Eswatini. This victory, what does it mean to you both as a team? I'll start off with you, Nomvuyo.
To me, to us as a team, it means growth. It means innovation, being impactful. It means so much to us because this is definitely personal. This is not just a project, this is a business. So we're about to impact lives, we're about to create job opportunities, so it's really big for us.
And from the CEO himself?
Oh, thank you so much for having us, Notsile. We really didn't expect it. As much as we worked hard, our vision was more of impacting lives and ensuring that we also secure a brighter future for ourselves, because at Enactus we are creating businesses so that next year when we graduate, some of us will be able to work on those businesses. So securing the bag from the nationals and getting to represent the country in the next month really it made us really happy. Yeah.
Enactus is big on entrepreneurship, and your winning project, NutriPlume, was it? Can you take us through that project? Exactly how did you come about the concept, and what challenge does it address?
Oh, thank you so much. NutriPlume addresses waste management, of broiler feathers. We saw a problem of feather waste pollution, and we then created an opportunity, or saw an opportunity in that problem. So
by feather waste pollution, you mean feathers?
Yes, broiler chicken feathers.
Okay.
Yes. As we all know, Maswati, or most of the Maswati, they delve into poultry production. As bangena ku-poultry production, kuba nalawo ma-waste products laphumako, including tona letinsiba. So tinsiba being the most of le byproduct lephumako from inguku, nayihlutfwa and ibulawa. So tibese setiya ku landfill noma ke tishiswe lokungayilungeli imvelo nako. So as Enactus waselingo senda research sabona ukuthi no asesibuke ukuthi yini lesingakwendanga letinsiba ukuze ensure ukuthi imvelo nayo yaqhubeka iyathrive benze ne-economy nayo iyathrive kanjalo. So sabuka ukuthi no i-research yethu yasikhomba ukuthi nasi thatha letinsiba sithi bhicake nalamanye ama-organic supplements siyakhona kuphuma ne-feather fertilizer. Yes.
Letinsiba ngubani lo supplier at the moment noma nje nihambe nikoleka? Ngitithola kuphi?
So we're currently supplied by Elangeni Poultry. However, we are working on sourcing them from small-scale farmers because, as we mentioned, we're all about creating job opportunities and closing the gap. So just to give them much more streams of income, supply because, as Wiseman has mentioned, which is very harmful for the environment. So yes, we are sourcing them from Elangeni Poultry in Matapa, and that has really helped us impact a lot of lives. Nasinga estimate changes because population yak Matapa, if when we take the feathers, we'd say around 35,000, just an estimation. Yes, because they are large, and then it's not just the people around Elangeni Poultry, Matapa at large will be affected.
Okay.
Yes.
It's quite the impact. A very good initiative, and I hear it in terms of sustainability. But Nomvuyo, you're a woman in business, you're an entrepreneur, and from that perspective, how economically viable is NutriPlume?
Very, because there's always production of broiler feathers. Like that is a waste that is constantly coming in. So there won't be a stop in production anytime soon. And as mentioned, it's very viable because we're not going to source it from only one source, as I mentioned. So having a number of sources does make it more viable. Also, the product here is not just going to end here. We're definitely going to bring in more babies that are going to impact the environment as well in a positive way. So, yeah.
Now, teamwork on a national competition, in fact, on any level, it requires, efforts. It really requires individual commitment. How did you structure your team roles effectively to ensure that you have an effective collaboration that led to the win or the success that we witnessed on Friday?
Enactus wineswaluyengo ngaqala nje ukuthi even khona kuma national competitions we were honored with winning the Team of the Year award. Yeah, we do try kuna skolo ngala kuna business ngala. So siyazama lokubalansisa kuba ngiloko kusacrifice nje from our members sikhona kubambisana ukuthi umuntu nangabe aniketiwe leyo role ukuthi your role is to do this, your role is to do this. So everyone uyayidlala irole yakhe. So I think ngiloko lokusitawo kakhulu naloko ukuthi singabuki lokho ukuthi namuhla kumbe ngcenye sisengaboni lokuthi sidingo salo umsebenzi sikhona sibuke the bigger picture because vele eqinisweni imisebenzi semincane. So if we try to push nyalo sesisengala esikolweni stawuthi siphuma sathi ukuthi imisebenzi we are secured. So I think ngiloko lokusipusha kakhulu as a team lokuthi nathi sakhe imisebenzi for other people, sakhe imisebenzi for even ourselves.
Novuyo, he says kuna skola ngala kune business ngala. You're not new to business, yes. I think. Tell me why you think it's important for, as a young person, to balance both academics and, harnessing or furnishing your entrepreneurial skills, especially kule age lesson.
Okay, so as he mentioned that you need to first find balance, which is very important. And harnessing your entrepreneurial skills really helps you because if you want to get into the job sector, you need to go there with experience. So that on its own puts you at a higher opportunity as an individual. If you push and you obtain the skills now, 10, 15 years from now, you look back and you'll be proud of yourself. Because with entrepreneurship, it's not just getting the money. There's a lot that goes into it. You learn how to work with people. You learn how to be patient. You need to learn how to have a consistent drive. And when you're crashing, you need to find ways on how you can sort of like pick yourself up and keep going. So it sort of teaches you persistence. And it also helps you as an individual to have more to lean back on. Not just, I'm not saying that we should neglect academics, but as you push your academics, you also have a driving force or a factor that comes from the business side of things, because now you learn how to push whatever comes. And if there's a downfall, you pick yourself up, you keep going. So really, business teaches you a lot in life.
I'll take it, Enactus can be quite demanding, just, being part of the team, the membership, you're learning your skills, and, in the different activities that you're involved in. What makes Enactus different from any other regular organization, a youth-led organization?
Okay, for me, what makes it different is that we are taught so many skills and so many opportunities are open to us. At Enactus, so we do have an executive in place with each and every Enactus team. And that on its own, whatever role you are appointed to by the team says a lot about you. Okay. So what makes it also different is that it becomes family. It's not just about the business only. You gain a second family, which is important as an individual. So it really teaches you how to be around people from diverse backgrounds, diverse cultures, work with them, and learn to collaborate. It also gives you a platform to, I've heard a number of interviews, I'm sure you know of that, and that on its own speaks growth because of Enactus, which gave me a platform to explore and expand. So Enactus does really create so many opportunities for an individual. All you have to do is apply yourself and make yourself available and ready to work.
Right. When we started, you mentioned that Enactus is about creating change and opportunities for many other young people. Wiseman, how has the journey shaped your individual mindset as a future business leader, as an innovator?
Oh, thank you, Notsile. Enactus has changed how I see things really completely, because now as members of Enactus or as students from Enactus, when we see a problem, we are now taught that we shouldn't just look at the problem itself. We should look at how we can monetize that problem.
Solutions,
so that we can come up with solutions that can help us and help the future generations. It is also important to also look at the positive impact that the project is going to make. So whatever that looks like a problem at that time, it is important that you look at it as perspective of how can it be of a economic value to us as young people. I think it can really help if maybe as young people, especially in those in tertiary institutions, since Enactus is for those in tertiary institutions, I think it can help if most of the young people can be part of Enactus and get to experience what we have experienced. I think that can help to also limit the number of unemployed graduates that we currently have. Yes, I think my perspective has really changed through Enactus. Yes.
Speaking of experiences, you were, Enactus Luyengo won last year, national level, and then you competed at the Enactus World Cup in Kazakhstan. Let's reflect on your participation as the CEO of Enactus Luyengo. How has that been? What are some of the lessons that you've drawn then that you feel you could probably implement in this upcoming competition?
Last year, we went there. We learned a lot. I think kwasisita kakhulu ukuthi sifikelena sivule emehlo sibuke ukuthi kahle kahle yini leshodako, what can we improve, because sabona lena nasifika lokho ukuthi no cishe mnengi umsebenzi lekufuna siyowenza emuva ekhaya, because people were talking about thousands of dollars, labanye bakhuluma ama-millions of dollars. Thina lapho kwakuhlaba emehlo abehlaba phansi, kepha-ke satethembisa lokho ukuthi next year will come back bigger and better. So sabuya vele-ke ekhaya sakhona ukuthi si-aplayele bo-funding lapha nalapha, and we are grateful to the Eswatini Environment Fund for believing in our project. Sakhona ukuthi sithole leyo mali ukuthenga leyo industrial processing equipment. So I think yasisita kakhulu vele i-experience yethu last year World Cup, even though beside vele lawo ma-sales, even nale processing equipment. So kwasisita ukuthi sithole le ngane ukuthi if bangakhona kwenda from other countries thina singehlulwa yini. So we are really grateful to the Eswatini Environment Fund and all the other funders, including Montigny Investments.
You said you learned a lot. My apologies for interjecting. Let's delve into that by a lot. What do you mean? Unpack it for us.
Okay, first of all, I can start with the economic side of it, because most of, like I've mentioned, that most of the countries there or the teams from that were representing the other countries, they had lots of money. So we had to try to make collaborations so that we can be able to be helped by them, so that we can be able to share
partnerships.
Yes, and form partnerships. And we were also able to form one partnership with an Enactus UFPA team, which also helped us to install solar street lights in Luyengo. So yeah, that was also another way that we learned, and we were able to create our impact even this side, while also helping them create impact, because as much as it was our impact this side, it was because of them. Yeah, so I think even this year we are looking to more collaborations.
The global competition seeing as you've participated in Kazakhstan, you've won locally. How do you think it differs from the national stage in terms of format, in terms of scope sayo nje nale pressure? Iyaye besihluke kanjani?
Well, this year, things had escalated in the national competitions. It was like we were in the World Cup itself, you know. From the setup to the presentations, you know, this year all the teams had upped their scale, you know. Everyone was on their peak, you know. So, bekulukhuni vele, I'm sure ama-judges abenesikhathi lesimadima afuna kubona ukuthi ngabe singavele sigcine sithi ngibani lo taba champion. But-ke siyabonga lokuthi ekugcineni kwawo konke kugcine kuba ngithi. Otherwise vele the competition was tough. Kwananathi we were on our toes. Nase kusonzela nje isikhathi sama-results ukuthi ngabe. But-ke we are grateful to God ukuthi kuphinze kwaba ngithi njalo. We are hoping ukuthi lo nyaka yes, live elitawujabula ngathi.
Right, Nomvuyo, you know, kumele live at such a huge, on such a huge platform. Akusiyo nje imvo lelide noma nje imvo lengayithatha kancane. Going forward, ngabe yini ama expectations enu during the competition that is set to take place in September?
So we're hoping that by the time the competitions come, we'll have sold more kilograms of our produce. So sinelithemba ukuthi sitawufikela siphumelele, because nakhona there are certain stages, there's top 16 kanjalo until the top 4. So we are expecting to continue learn, and as Wiseman mentioned, get more collaborations, because this bonilo lama collaborations asita nathi to expand our reach. And also we are hoping ukuthi nasifika lembili angeke sigcine like getting collaborations and upscaling, but also as individuals, connect our own connections or networks to continue grow as individuals, so that we can bring those connections back into the country and help more young people.
I should have asked this one earlier. You said you hope to at least be making more sales now in terms of the NutriPlume. This is a local product manufactured by Eswatini, a solution for Eswatini. How has the reception been of the product in the country, especially Gubalim?
Wonderful. They are eager to try. Okay. More especially because when you tell them that it's organic, and imagine yakhiwe ngetinsiba. So everyone's like, ngifuna ukuzama. So they're really eager to learn, which is something very new, because the Maswati want to be restricted in Letinsha. But this time around, they came in numbers, placed their orders, they are supporting us, and a majority of them are asking when are the 50 kilograms coming. Okay. So it has been a great reception, I'm not going to lie.
Right. I'll take it that's a good reaction. You know, they'll probably think it has the same nutritional value as some of the fertilizers that we know, is it? Yeah, all right. We'll wrap it up now. How do you plan to ensure the continuity and expansion of the project beyond now, and even when you're done, when you have graduated? Nomvuyo.
Okay, so we're hoping to get more funding so that we can upscale our production more than what we have now. Because right now we have acquired machinery that allows us to produce about 200 kilograms per hour. Right. So once we obtain more funding, we're definitely going to get more machinery, grow the warehouse that we already have now, and employ more people, and yeah, just keep supplying at a large, not just the small scale farmers only. We're in talks with agro dealers as well, and the large scale farmers as well.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Nomvuyo Dlamini and Wiseman Masika, thank you both for your time. Those were students from UNESWA Luyengo campus, specifically under the Enactus program, you know, just filling us in on their NutriPlume fertilizer that is they're going to be showcasing that at the upcoming Enactus World Cup in Thailand, Bangkok in September. For now, we'll catch a break. When we come back, we'll have a look at our traffic update.
When you choose your adventures, You do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Welcome back to the program, and in our traffic update we have Setlo Dlamini on the line just to give us the heads up, and what roads we should be driving more cautiously on. A very good morning to you, Unkosi. It was a busy weekend. Any accidents, any disturbances we should be on the lookout for?
Anguvusele Sithole ngiphize ngivusele naye umbukeli wayo isibuko seMaswati kukusile breakfast show elangeni lamuhla imigwaco yethu sesihlolile lesingakuveta njeke lokukhomba ukuthi imisebenzi ikhona emadolobheni lamakhulu ethu kula edolobheni laseMbabane nasithatha nangu umgwaco lobheka kubolethu phecelezi lesubika ngasozisa road lo mgwaqo loyo sincikisana emzileni munye kanye nalapha ku Dr Sishayi nangiyalo suka lapha eSuper Spa uyongena lapha emall nakhona siserisha umzila munye kanike lapha endasi extension 3 kuna umgwaco nangu lesibukane kanye nemchawe lodge nawo kunemhlaba lapho lofakiwe nawo uyalungiswa loyo mgwaco loyo kungaba nje ke kuchaza nje ke ukuthi awulidolobha laseMbabane nasihamba kulo asiqaphele sisebenza imigwaco tikhona kusilawula kwekuthi labanye abahambe labanye beve basimele imishini isava isachubeka kusebenza timpawu temgwaco ke phecelezi traffic lights asebenza kahle edolobheni laseMbabane nakumathapha kamanzini nginatiyale tibukene kanye nayo phela i-remand center hlangano tiyasebenza kahle kakhulu kanike lapha eTulu mafutheni khona imfuyo siyayibona ikakhulu nasithatha nangu umgwaco lobheka ngakhona kubongobhola nakhona nasithatha nanguya losuka lapha kuhelehele ubheke khona engculwini kanike nyalo ekuseni kwathi sephela kwekuthi ama-truck maningi ikakhulu laqhamuka ngase-Big Bang la utajoyine nangumgwaco lomkhulu i-highway yethu phela leqhamuka elubonjeni ibheke khona kamanzini lapho bese kuba ne-congestion kusukela nyalo nje kuyawufika insimbi yesiphohlongo kanike lapha eBig Bend khona masifika siyibonile inkungu lembonye khona ihamba kanye nalo lusuthu lesine lethemba ukuthi kuyawuthi kuphakamise kwathi sephela ukuthi ngumlalamvubu nasiphakama lilanga kuyawube sekuyahloba kungaba kunyusa njeke ukuthi sisabuka nebantwana bethu besikolwa nabo sibanike lithuba ukuthi bawele kahle emgwacweni ngicela kuphinda lapho khona kuyinkinga khona eMbabane nasithatha nangumgwaco phecelezi isozisa road lo wenza ngaseBizit sisebenzisa umzila munye kani nalapha ngembili kwase Super Spa nakhona kuyalungiswa lapho sisebenzisa munye umzila kanye nalapha eTulu extension 3 nasibheke namchawe lodge nakhona kuyalungiswa kungaba nje ke ukuthi sinxuse kubeketelelana sisaqhubeka nayo umsebenzi sisebenzise imigwaqo kihle siwuvala umgwaqo iphinde siwuvula kwathi sefela kwekuthi awusibukela kwekuthi imigwaqo yethu kube indzawo lehambeka malula siyabonga Sithole.
Thank you very much, Nkosi, for that update. That was Sehlo Dlamini giving us the traffic update this morning. You are, however, urged to drive with caution, notably that there are some areas in the capital, especially undergoing road rehabilitation. For now, we'll catch a break. When we come back, we'll have Dinzaba at 7.
Get ready, Eswatini. The Battle of Brains is back on your screens. The Maban Municipality Council Spelling Bee is back live on Eswatini television.
Please spell the word fairness.
Fairness. F-A-I-R-N-E-S-S.
Witness the spelling mastery, creativity, and determination of our youth as they compete for the top prize.
Please spell the word rebellious.
Rebellious. R-E-B-E-L-L-I-O-U-S.
Don't miss it. Every Tuesday at 5 p.m. starting this July on Eswatini TV.
Welcome back. Now we'll have a look at news-making headlines in other parts of the world. New outbreaks of violence overnight rocked Syria, straining a fragile ceasefire. Meanwhile, residents in Sweden are calling access to more humanitarian aid.
Humanitarian needs are escalating in Sweden. Drinking water has become scarce and residents face dauntingly long queues just to receive bread. Aid access remains limited and despair is setting in.
We are living in a siege. There is no fuel and we receive flour on ration. Look at the crowd. I've been here for 5 hours, since 8 in the morning. And there are people who have been here since 12 and have not received bread.
The southern province was engulfed in a week of sectarian clashes last month between the local Sunni Bedouin tribes and Druze fighters that drew in the Syrian government forces as well as Israel. Parts of Sweden came to resemble war zones. Charred bodies filled the streets and buildings and cars were scorched. According to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, around 1,400 people were killed, mostly Druze, and more than 175,000 people were displaced. The UN has called the violence appalling and said there were reports of widespread lootings, kidnappings and arbitrary killings. Among the accused were members of the interim government's forces. In Sweden's main square, hundreds gathered on Friday to protest against Syria's new authorities, saying they have imposed a blockade on the town and calling for their withdrawal.
We need to open a humanitarian corridor immediately and lift the siege on Sweden. We need to hold the terrorist criminals who committed violations against all segments of Sweden's society accountable.
Syria's Ministry of Justice announced on Thursday it had established a committee to investigate civilian deaths and the circumstances that led to the events in Sweden, as the rift deepens between the Druze and the new authorities.
As people struggle to reach aid, desperation is taking hold in Gaza. According to UN experts, the worst-case scenario, a famine, is playing out.
This is a rare chance for food in Khan Yunis. As people struggle to reach aid, desperation is taking hold. According to UN experts, the worst-case scenario of famine is playing out.
We can't even find a loaf of bread, which is something so basic. So we come to the charity kitchen here to eat and to provide food for our children. Every morning when my little daughter wakes up, she says, "Daddy, I'm hungry."
It is a humanitarian crisis that has accumulated slowly and excruciatingly for Palestinians. In May, Israel appointed the US-run Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to begin aid distribution after blocking all food, water, medicine and basic supplies from entering the Gaza Strip for more than 2 months. Human Rights Watch describes their sites as death traps, at which nearly 900 people have been killed, most by the Israeli army. The number of airdrops and aid has slightly increased during the last week, but much more is needed. On Friday, the head of UNRWA said there were 6,000 trucks loaded with aid stuck outside Gaza, waiting for the green light to enter. The same day, Hamas broadcast a video of hostage Eviatar David looking skeletally thin. His family did not want it shared. An allied Islamic Jihad militant group had also released a video of hostage Ron Braslavsky. His father then appealed directly to the Israeli Prime Minister.
Bibi, with all due respect, look into his eyes and see how hungry he is. Look at him and tell us if this can continue.
According to the Israeli army, 49 hostages are still being held in Gaza, including 27 who are deceased. But negotiations to release them as part of a ceasefire appear to be at a standstill once more.
Over the past few days, Hamas and its ally, Islamic Jihad, have released 3 videos showing 2 hostages seized during the October 7, 2023 attack on Israel that triggered the ongoing war in Gaza. The videos sparked reactions from Israelis who are stepping up calls for a truce, securing the release of the remaining captives before it's too late.
Horror and anguish. Emotions ran high this Saturday in Tel Aviv's Hostage Square. In the last few days, Hamas and the Islamic Jihad released videos of 2 hostages, Ram Braslavsky, shown here, and Eviatar David. They appeared weak and emaciated.
In their current unimaginable condition, they may have only days left to live. Hamas is using Eviatar in one of the most horrific and calculated campaigns of cruelty imaginable.
Not far away, in front of Israel's defense ministry, protesters came to demand an end to the country's ongoing conflict to release remaining hostages. Of those taken during Hamas's attack nearly 2 years ago, 49 hostages are still being held by the armed group in Gaza.
Today we've been seeing Holocaust views from the tunnels of the Hamas in Gaza, from the tunnels of the terrorists, and also the children in Gaza that are suffering at the same time. We want this war to be over.
The only way to get a ceasefire and a hostage deal is pressure on Netanyahu. Only pressure on Netanyahu from every direction will end this thing, for the good of the hostages and for the good of the Israeli state.
Israel considers the disarmament of Hamas to be a precondition for any ceasefire agreement, which the militant group refuses without the establishment of a Palestinian state.
A Ukrainian rulemaker and a pair of local officials, as well as an unspecified number of National Guard personnel, have been caught in a major graft scheme that involved using state funds to buy drones and other military hardware at deliberately inflated prices in return for bribes, the country's anti-corruption agencies said.
Public funds meant for Ukraine's army embezzled by top political and military officials. That's the conclusion of a new investigation by anti-corruption agencies, exposing a vast system of fraud in the midst of war. Members of the National Guard suspected of involvement now suspended.
Anti-corruption agencies have exposed one of the members of the Ukrainian parliament, as well as heads of district and city administrations and servicemen of the National Guard of Ukraine for bribery. Unfortunately, it involved the procurement of electronic warfare and FPV equipment. Absolutely immoral. There must be full and fair accountability for this.
A politically damaging scandal for the president. Just last month, Zelensky backed a law that would have brought anti-corruption bodies under tighter state control, saying they were inefficient and under Russian influence. But after a wave of public anger and mass protests, he backtracked on Thursday and restored the body's independence. It was the first anti-government street demonstration since Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022. Corruption remains a major challenge in Ukraine and is often called an endemic problem for the country. Following the war, several high-profile cases have rocked the armed forces and the Ministry of Defense.
U.S. President Donald Trump announced that he had ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in the appropriate regions, responding to what he called foolish and inflammatory statements from former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev.
These are Ohio-class guided missile submarines transiting the Mediterranean, America's most powerful underwater weapons, and according to the U.S. president, they could be back on the move. Donald Trump says he has deployed 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in what he calls appropriate regions, a response to comments made by former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev. First making the announcement on his social media platform Truth Social, Trump blamed the order on foolish and inflammatory statements by Medvedev, now the deputy chairman of the Russian Federation Security Council. Earlier this week, he threatened the US in response to Trump's ultimatum that Moscow agrees to a ceasefire in Ukraine or faces tough sanctions. The US president doubled down on his order Friday evening before reporters.
Oh, yeah, well, we had to do that. We just have to be careful. A threat was made by a former president of Russia, and we're going to protect our people.
President Trump did not say whether he was referring to nuclear-powered or nuclear-armed submarines, but it's the first time he has referenced the American nuclear arsenal since relations soured with Russia.
And what did Medvedev say to you that made you really mad?
Well, you just have to read what he said. He was talking about nuclear. When you talk about nuclear, we have to be prepared.
Russia and the US possess the most nuclear arms in the world. Trump in the past touted good relations with Russian President Vladimir Putin, but now expresses mounting frustration, describing Moscow's latest attacks on Ukraine as disgusting. The Kremlin so far has made no comment on the order.
An independent watchdog agency responsible for enforcing a law against partisan political activity by federal employees has opened an investigation into Jack Smith, the Justice Department special counsel who brought 2 criminal cases against then-candidate Donald Trump before his election to the White House last year. The Office of Special Counsel confirmed that it was investigating Smith on allegations he engaged in political activity through his inquiries into Trump.
Jack Smith, the man who investigated Donald Trump in the lead-up to the 2024 presidential election, is now himself being investigated by the Office of Special Counsel, as first reported in U.S. media.
The U.S. Office of Special Counsel, an independent federal agency, confirmed to NBC News on Saturday that it's investigating Smith for alleged violations of the Hatch Act, a law that prohibits certain political activities by government officials. Trump and his allies have not presented specific evidence of wrongdoing.
Unlike the type of special counsel's office previously led by Jack Smith, the Office of Special Counsel, or the OSC, is an independent agency that can't bring criminal charges but can recommend disciplinary actions like removing federal employees or referring findings to the Department of Justice for further investigation. The decision follows a complaint by Republican Senator Tom Cotton, who claims without evidence that Smith violated the Hatch Act, a federal law that bars public officials from political activity. He says Smith's actions supported Joe Biden and Kamala Harris during the 2024 presidential campaign before Biden's withdrawal. Donald Trump then went on to win the presidency. Jack Smith was appointed special counsel in November 2022 to oversee the federal investigations into Trump, who announced he'd be running for president 3 days before Smith's appointment. Jack Smith then went on to indict Trump on 2 criminal charges, but resigned just days before Trump's 2024 inauguration, leaving both cases unresolved. He has since denied any wrongdoing.
Trump signed an order imposing steep tariffs on 66 countries, the EU, Taiwan and the Falkland Islands to go into effect on August 7 after he originally threatened them for April but postponed twice after that until August 1st.
A flurry of new tariffs on a long list of U.S. trading partners signed off by President Donald Trump. It's the next step in his trade agenda that will test the global economy and alliances. The new import levies reach as high as 41% on Syria, a hike on Canadian imports to 35%, and 25% tariffs on goods from India, plus an additional import tax on the country due to India's purchasing of Russian oil. Brazil, meanwhile, faces a whopping 50% tariff as punishment for what the U.S. president has called a witch hunt against his right-wing ally Jair Bolsonaro. The Brazilian finance minister said Brazil will defend its interests.
The 50% tariff is truly unjustifiable. It is outside the standard framework of America's relationship with any other country.
America's top trading partner, Mexico, will see a 90-day negotiating period, keeping the current 25% tariff rates. Some countries were able to strike deals before the deadline, including South Korea and Japan. The EU faces 15% on most goods imported into the US, and although they had avoided double that rate threatened by Trump months ago, many European leaders are unhappy.
The EU Commission President has made commitments to America that are beyond her authority. All European products imported to the US will face 15% tariffs and no levies on goods from America. What kind of an agreement is this?
Donald Trump says his aim is to address trade imbalances that are unfavorable to the U.S. and has promised the tariffs will boost the U.S. economy and create jobs. Critics, however, warn the tariffs could harm America's global standing and increase inflation both domestically and abroad.
South Africa is among the countries facing President Donald Trump's new tariffs on exports that are due to come into effect on August 7 rather than August 1st, as previously announced. President Cyril Ramaphosa said he will use the week-long delay to try to negotiate hard to avoid the penalty and save jobs.
The 30% US tariffs on South African products are due to take effect within 7 days after the 1st of August. They are among the highest in sub-Saharan Africa amid tense relations. The country's President Cyril Ramaphosa says discussions with Washington are ongoing.
We've got to engage with them and find a way to reach a settlement. So within the window that's still open, we're hoping that we will find a way to settle this matter. So intensive negotiations are now underway.
Among the sectors hit hard, South Africa's automotive and steel industries. This valve manufacturer in Johannesburg employs 200 people. The company fears the 30% tariff will force it to leave the US market, which currently accounts for 80% of its exports.
The longer the tariffs stay in place, the longer the situation will continue to disable us.
Wine, nuts, avocados and fruit are exported to the United States from South Africa in large quantities. The US imports between 6 and 8% of the country's citrus fruit production. One producer in Citrusdal, 200 kilometers north of Cape Town, says his business will adjust.
We can survive this. We probably have to cut off a couple of hectares, take 2 steps back, wait 4 or 5 years and then move forward. But what is the reality? If we cut off 100 hectares, there's going to be 200 people looking for a job next year in Citrusdal.
The governor of the South African Central Bank says Trump's tariffs could result in 100,000 jobs lost in Africa's largest economy.
In the past 20 years, nearly 300 buildings have collapsed in Alexandria. One significant factor contributing to the situation is climate change, particularly the rising sea levels in the Mediterranean. Alexandria stands out as one of the cities most at risk of disappearing in the world.
In this old quarter of Alexandria, workers are still clearing debris 2 weeks after the collapse of a building. This resident, who lives in a nearby apartment, is still in shock.
It was around 5 in the morning.
I'd just fallen asleep when 10 minutes later I heard screaming and felt the ground shake. There was this huge cloud of dust. You couldn't see anything. 2 people died. God rest their souls.
Over the past 2 decades, 280 buildings have collapsed in Alexandria, killing 85 people. Across the city, ruins have become part of the landscape. Tarek Abdelmahassem is an engineer.
These buildings are all over 100 years old. Here they're either abandoned in ruins or marked for demolition, but of course people are still living in some of them.
24,000 buildings are at risk of collapse in the next few years, according to government figures. The main reasons are aging buildings, decades of neglect, and the effects of climate change.
Alexandria's biggest problem is that it's a coastal city that's been highly exposed to rising sea levels for years. That's led to more and more salt water seeping into the ground, weakening the foundations of the buildings and making them unstable.
To help residents living in these unsafe buildings, the authorities have announced a plan to build 60,000 new houses. They're also trying to slow coastal erosion by building kilometres of concrete barriers between the beach and the city.
These blocks are designed to protect the coastline. You'll find them at various points along Alexandria's beaches where the sea is eating away at the sand. I don't think this will solve the underlying problem, but it's a protective measure to try to reduce the impact and slow down the erosion.
According to the United Nations, a third of the city could be underwater or uninhabitable by 2050.
Part of the European Commission's much-anticipated AI Act comes into force this weekend. It's been hailed as the first piece of a comprehensive legislation aimed at regulating AI globally. Critics, though, say it doesn't go far enough.
When it comes to artificial intelligence, the EU is doubling down on its mission: curb misuse without crushing innovation. This weekend, the second round of its landmark AI Act takes effect. From August 2, member states now have to inform the Commission about which authorities will be in charge of policing AI compliance under the new law. Generative AI tools like those used to write text, make images, or compose music must reveal the data used to train their models. As the EU puts it,
the sources used to train general-purpose AI model that is made available to users in Europe will have to be clearly documented. If they're protected by copyright, the authors will have to be remunerated, and above all, the consent will have to be obtained.
Tech giants like OpenAI and Google have agreed to follow the EU's voluntary code of conduct, but others, such as Meta, are pushing back. Industry critics say the rules could create confusion for companies, especially around intellectual property and safety requirements.
What AI requires is a great deal of good faith. That is to say, demonstrating that we are trying to do things right. It does not mean doing everything perfectly, since there are still unresolved issues on the research side.
All this is just the beginning. Next year, so-called high-risk AI used in areas like law enforcement, education, or critical infrastructure will face stiff requirements before being allowed on the European market.
Salvadoran lawmakers on Thursday passed a constitutional reform abolishing the limit on the number of presidential terms. This change allows President Nayib Bukele, in power since 2019, to run for re-election indefinitely.
El Salvador's ruling party approved new constitutional reforms allowing for indefinite presidential re-election, opening the door to President Nayib Bukele for another term in power.
With this reform, we're giving power to those who should have always had it, the Salvadoran people. It's simple. If you, the Salvadoran people, agree with how a president did his work, then you can vote for him again. And if you don't agree, you vote for a better option.
Bukele's party also approved amendments that would extend the presidential term from 5 to 6 years. The second round of the election, where the top candidates face off, will also be removed.
You're condemning future generations just because you want to preserve your power. We've had examples of dictatorships and we've had examples of authoritarianism, both from the right and from the left, and neither is good.
Bukele has been in office since 2019 and was re-elected last year with an 85% majority, giving him almost full control of state institutions. He secured a new term despite a constitutional prohibition on immediate re-election. The president once dubbed himself the world's coolest dictator. He enjoys enormous popularity for his so-called anti-gang war, consisting of mass street arrests without warrants. Bukele reduced violence in El Salvador to historic lows. Critics, however, say that his government has been overshadowed by repression of human rights and exile of humanitarian activists and journalists.
Former Colombian President Alvaro Uribe was sentenced by a judge on Friday to 12 years of house arrest for abuse of process and bribery of a public official in a long-running case over connections to former right-wing parliamentaries. Uribe says he will rather appeal the ruling.
Uribe guilty. The slogan, written on banners and on walls in Colombia, celebrates the verdict handed down by the country's judiciary condemning former President Alvaro Uribe on charges of abuse of process and bribery of a public official. The witness tampering case lasted for almost 13 years. A 6-month trial and 90 witnesses later, Uribe was sentenced to 12 years house arrest and fined over $800,000 on Friday. He is also barred from running for political office for more than 8 years. For his part, Uribe decried the ruling as politically motivated.
This is a ruling with political determinants close to those who have attacked Colombian democracy.
Head of state from 2002 to 2010, Uribe led a military campaign against drug cartels and the FARC guerrilla army. He received strong support from the United States under both the Clinton and Bush administrations and is reviled by the Colombian left and human rights defenders, who accuse him of violations, civilian executions, and enforced disappearances. Reactions from the public are polarized between relief and outrage.
For the first time in Colombia's history, we have a judge and a prosecutor who stood their ground. Because if you notice, years ago, the same prosecutor's office requested dismissal in the case of Alvaro Uribe.
Unfortunately, it is not a failure in justice, it is a political failure, and that is why I'm here, because we cannot allow justice to become politicized.
Uribe says he will appeal the decision.
Electronic Arts unveiled an early look at Battlefield 6 during a closed event in Paris, stirring both excitement and controversy.
That gun? Fake. That soldier? An actor. Both of them are props to fet the announcement that the popular first-person shooter Battlefield will see a new addition to the series October 10th. To mark the occasion in Paris, the video games company Electronic Arts invited journalists and influencers to test Battlefield 6 in a stark concrete hall full of PCs. Like the soldier, the game features realistic graphics and destructible environments where whole buildings can be destroyed with rocket launchers. Real or not, it's the fantasy of war that is attractive to players, according to game designers.
Being able to be in a jet, jump out of it, launch a rocket at an enemy jet and get back into yours is clearly not something that's realistic, but it's something that's extremely fun and has been a part of the DNA of Battlefield from the start.
That fantasy strikes a chord in today's political climate. The plot of Battlefield 6 takes place in 2027, where the United States and its allies are fighting against a private army called the Pax Armada, alongside several European former NATO countries. According to designers, any resemblance to current events is unintentional.
We created all this a few years ago, or at least we started the basics a few years ago, so if there are things that are very similar today, it's more coincidence, I would say. The aim was really to be authentic. We wanted an authentic context for better immersion and a better experience, in the end, for the players.
An autumn launch sets the stage for a showdown with competitor games company Blizzard Activision, which will release a new Call of Duty this year, though a date has not yet been announced. Time will tell, but stakes are high for the Battlefield Series Edition, as its sales have not met expectations previously.
The African Nations Football Championship kicked off on Saturday. For the first time, 3 East African countries hosted the competition. That was Tanzania, Kenya and Uganda. The tournament, which was supposed to take place in February, was postponed to August because the organizers weren't ready.
Final training session before Kenya's first ever match in the African Nations Championship. They'll be facing DR Congo, 2-time Chan champions.
We have camp, I think, right now almost 3 weeks to a month. We're fully ready. We thank to the coach. He has prepared us very well. So we are focused for the game on Sunday.
Players say the delay didn't throw them off. In fact, for the coach, the extra time may have been a blessing.
Having Chan postponed for 6 months has kind of given everybody a chance to also work on become better during that time, and now they will be ready to showcase their talent, and hopefully Kenya is not going to be a disappointment.
Kenya will play in 2 renovated stadiums that were not ready in January. Organizers now insist everything is in place. Even the president is promoting the tournament.
Wakenya wenzangu, this August, something big is happening.
The country needs to demonstrate that the tournament can run smoothly. The stakes are high. Chan is seen as a dress rehearsal for the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations, which will also be hosted by Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania. In Nairobi, a brand new 60,000-seat stadium is currently under construction. For the sports journalist, things seem to be moving in the right direction.
I think we're ready for now. We've been pushing the government to have these stadiums ready. We've just come from a period where there are no stadiums. These tournaments now give people, especially these people who have never had a chance to prepare for big tournaments, to see how things will be. Because AFCON is bigger, obviously, we've got more eyeballs, we've got bigger players coming through, the media is coming here. So it's a chance for everyone to see how things will be moving. And some of them, if they don't work right now, you can be able to rectify and make them work by 2027.
By then, the new stadium should be completed and filled. 45,000 tickets for Kenya's first Chan match were sold out in less than 2 days.
And that's all for our international news segment. After the break, Sifiso will be coming through with an interview on what went down in the sports fraternity this past weekend. Stay tuned.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sende ukukhiqiza lokusembili.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Imagine being part of a journey that uncovers the beauty of untold stories. Get ready to be part of something epic. You don't want to be left out, and you definitely don't want to miss out. Join the journey of uncovering untold stories through art, words, and hands. O-U-T out. Well, that's poetry. Poetry. Don't blink or you'll miss it. Every Monday, 6:30 p.m. Screens on, eyes glued.
Reformers. Asashone ma. Kude lodawathi kuthula la ngamanyasa. Cha. Ngiyaxolisa mle. No.
Ngikuphela lokuleza ngokubalekela. Ukuthi singumndeni simunye. Sivale kwazana sonke.
Yini lamanyala lawa wena uyaphila kahle la? No. Angeke uyimele lempilo ufuna kuyisusa. Utawushaka kabuhlungu.
What the hell is going on? Don't touch me. What is she doing here?
Angicabanga sinecabanga sisile le nto le. Angesabi impi mina. I need to talk to her. Sorry.
Ma, kokhula sapna sibonela stage elinyala.
Hi, sweetie. Unjani?
Pissed.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
All right, it's 37 minutes after 7. We witnessed the Inguyama Cup prize presentation dinner last week, and everyone has been saying Rare Leopard is now R1 million richer after that prize presentation. In fact, 1.4 million Malagani richer. And people have been making jokes around how they will spend this money because it's seemingly their first time in history since they have etched their name in this Inguyama Cup. But a lot of other winners from the night. Such a beautiful night, but it comes with implications. It comes with a bar that has been set. It also comes with a huge responsibility to keep up the good work, but also it sets the tone for how they want to spend this money going forward, particularly Rare Leopard, as we are about to see a new seasons commencing really soon. We have Fabrice Msonera in studio, who's going to give us his insights, as well as what he understands will be some of the implications after such a momentous evening there at Mavuso Hall #1. Fabrice, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Inguyama Cup, we enjoyed it. we enjoyed the tournament. We've enjoyed the dinner and the prize presentation, and certainly Eswatini TV, if we are going to start here at home, enjoying yet another win. What's your reaction there?
It's a very good morning, Sfiso, to you and the viewers at home. And I think when you're referring to Eswatini TV, since it's the starting point, one would say the hard work that is put in the team, the team of, where one would say not only the sports team, the faces that people are familiar with, but almost everyone here at the station, including yourself, the technicians and everyone, the producers. So I think the hard work also comes in showing that everyone was behind the competition since day one. We're talking about the live broadcast. We're talking about the matches that maybe were recorded. We're talking about the updates. We're talking about news. We're talking about all the interviews connected. So it comes with the hard work. And then you look at how many editions that Eswatini TV have. We've tried to ensure that at least whenever this tournament is here, the coverage gets to be the best. So I think for the team, the sports team, and everyone who's supported us, one would say, yeah, I think it's a deserving one. And then when you look at also other categories, I think for me, this is probably one of the competitions where we've talked about how knockout tournaments feel. So you just play how many, 6 games, and you're just 1.4 million richer. You're referring to how Leopard are going to use the money. Then you ask yourself, it's pre-season already. We're getting to the 8-bet trade fair shortly by the end of this month. What do they have in store in terms of getting players? And I think for me, yes, things are said about, say, your Swallows, your Highlander, and then your other teams. I think once again, there will be a competitive team come next season. They're amongst the 3 teams I can say they'll go and get into the competition, either for the league, either for the trade fair, either for, once again, another Inguyama Cup for next season. So I think for me, talk about some of the key players, Botigiti, who was player of the series, player of the tournament. And I think most importantly, Coach Edwin, I think hitting a double Sfiso, Premier League, M10 Premier League Coach of the Year, and also goes on to be Inguyama Cup Coach of the Year. That says a lot about him.
Full time. Yeah. Perhaps before we get into the individual winners, and of course the celebrations of the night, I think we ought to respect His Majesty's pronouncement, particularly on the imperative of sport. Not only for health, but also for economically. But he really did emphasize on the health aspect, and we ought to speak about that. Too often we speak about sports as something for leisure. And yes, we know in Eswatini it's not yet as professional as it should. South African media has spoken about it with this Real AM thing that has been happening with the Highlanders. Eswatini is not that professional, but the King has called a call here saying that let's professionalize it, but let's also use it for our health as well as for our economy. How do you react to that?
For starters, maybe let's start on that issue when the King said, I think he challenged the Football Association to say, take us to AFCON and to the World Cup. And I think, rightful said, I think being on his side, I feel like we have the biggest competition in the region. I think we should be already up there. I think he was actually telling them, you know what, just wake up. I mean, as a country, we play COSAFA, we're failing to win it. Chan, we're failing to qualify. What's short? Just wake up and work. And I think for me, if then you give yourself, I've always said, what Football Association need, they just need to give themselves a period of 5 to 6 years. This is what we want to do. If you really want to qualify, because we have to qualify. Almost every country that we used to call small countries, they have qualified for AFCON. I think probably within the region, it's only us and Lesotho who have not yet qualified for the AFCON in the history. Then you ask yourself, what is short? Why can't we qualify? We get South African players sometimes to come and also be part of our league. We get players from Mozambique. All these countries have qualified for AFCON, played for once or twice. So I think he challenged them to say, His Majesty was saying, you know what, just do whatever that you need to do, but make sure that we qualify for the AFCON and World Cup. And I think for AFCON starters, we need to do that at least within a period of 5 to 6. We should be able to qualify. But then when he challenged it on the, just making it, something to make it a lifestyle. I think he even used the funny word to say, it's too much. It's, some of these people tell themselves, you're in the office day and out. He's saying, find an exercise we can do. If you run, you have to run. If you attend the Shuguma programs, attend the Shuguma programs by government. Just find a sport, to live a healthy life. And then it makes sense to say, so I think you exercise, you understand. You feel good when you're in your workplace and you know you've done what you're supposed to do with your exercises. So I think for me, it's the right message that we shouldn't take it for granted, and it goes with what you want to do. If you feel good, you will do good.
100%. It certainly does make you more productive, and suppose a healthy nation will be a productive nation.
Yeah, the productive
coming
nation.
from him as the king, it makes sense to
I'll
want to have a productive nation.
Yeah.
So Matange, lona lithanga bekunene ngicabanga ukuthi wayiva leyo call leyo.
Yeah, true.
Coming back to the winners of the night, and I suppose the biggest winners, not that we didn't know they were going to win, but like the king said, le mali sayiyeta nyalo ngeyisabhounsa ngoba fike ATM. Royal Leopard, they are 1.4 million richer.
True.
It comes at a time where a couple of tournaments are coming and the teams are preparing for new seasons. There's a whole lot of admin happening, and we know the organization, the structure of Royal Leopard is a little different, and things about the Timali are never really as concerning as some other teams. What do you think this win say about their evolution of the squad, but also what this money will do for them?
I like it when you put it in a way of saying, being an organization that they have got a way of doing things, because for them it's not, you don't get paid because you're a soccer player.
Right.
You get paid because you are within, you're serving the industry. So I think for them, maybe one would say there will be a bonus in terms of what you have won. But in terms of adding faces, I don't think they will use the money, the 1.4, to say, let's go and get such and such player. They already have a plan in place to say, we've got a development programs. I think Leopard, if you look at some of their good players, the Tigiti we're talking about, probably we'll talk about him, the player of the tournament.
We will, for sure.
So these are some of the things they have done in terms of developing players. So they hardly would go out and say, let's get, in the case of Felix Parenhorst, they would hardly go out and say, we're picking so-and-so players. They mostly rely within their squad that they normally have. So for me, I don't think their money is going to be spent mostly on getting new players and everything, because the squad they still have. They will improve, yes, 1 or 2 players, but I think for me, maybe what you can expect, it's a different setup in terms of how they are doing things, maybe game change in terms of the game of the style of play. But in terms of saying that they will use their money to buy players, I don't think so. I don't think that's the message for them. They have won it. I think now they want to say, we need to win the 8-bet trade for which starts month end. And I think they're targeting that. And they are one of the team which I think, for me, they've got it takes to once again fight for the title this season.
Yeah, and I was about to ask you, do you really believe that they are current squad is good enough for the upcoming tournaments in the next season, considering that they haven't made much changes?
You have to remember that. Now, being the Inguyama Cup champions, they were number 2 in the league behind Singizini.
They're really good.
And mind you, let's not forget, being the Inguyama Cup champs then gives you the ticket to go to CAF Confederations. We have to highlight that maybe in terms of the expenditures going there, yes, CAF did injecting some incentive, but it's still costly when traveling all the details. I think that's where maybe one can highlight that the 1.4 million is likely to be useful in terms of, their traveling, their preparations. They probably need a week or 2 out of the country in terms of pre-season. So all those things probably take up for the 1.4 million. So otherwise, for me, I think they can still come and fight for the title. Singizini will be once again there. Buffaloes will be there. Those are the teams we have to highlight. Probably Moneni also can be mentioned. So I think, come next season, they still are the team on the top of the log to say they've got what it takes and go and fight for the title.
Makaosi announcing the player of the tournament who didn't only score the goal that mattered, he really did also then walk away with the player of the tournament. What stood out from his performance during that whole tournament for you? And do you think he has what it takes to carry that through into other competitions and seasons?
It's funny, because knockout tournaments are really quite different. I've seen players giving their best in knockout tournaments, and I've seen players being consistent the entire season in terms of week in and week out. I think for Tikiti, when you look at his games in the Inguyama Cup, then there are 3 games. One, I would say he was quite consistent. I think the goal you're highlighting, and I think there's a game that maybe Coach Edwin did say that for him was the final. I think this was when they beat Green Mamba by 1-0 in the quarterfinals. I think that game he was also quite consistent. Probably for me, it was probably the man of the. He was consistent in that game. You look at the game they went on to face also Buffalo. So these are the games that will say 3 to 4 games in a row. He was quite consistent. Not really to look at the goal and everything, but I think the consistency in those cold armed forces derbies that they played, I think it was quite cool. And they were the toughest game one, I would say, they had to face. So for me, I think that's the consistency. In terms of the league, you will have days when maybe he didn't start or where he didn't give the pace, which I still feel like, yes, the M10 Premier League awards are over. We cannot go back to them. But I still feel like his teammate, Junior Magagori, in my personal opinion, I think Junior is still just... he's still the best we have in the midfield, in the midfield in the lane. People can say what they want. Yes, they will say they will have Kiwon, the things in play. Others will say, Tiger, anyone. But I think for me, Junior, also who plays with Tigit, I think was so far the player for the league. But for the Inguyama Cup, I think the young man deserves it. So I think for me, he showed character in 3 or 4 games in a row that deserve to be given, a player of the tournament.
And look, he says 15,000 Malangani Richa. I suppose for the month of July, if that's around what he gets for a paycheck, he got double. Good incentive, right? Enough to motivate him to want to continue being the best and maybe rival Junior as the best player in the team?
To look at where the level of football is in the country's field, so yes, there is room for improvement in terms of what we serve. But I think for a knockout tournament, just to play 6 games when you get 15K, I think for me, that's when the Inguyama Cup becomes then the best competition. The league is probably 10 or 15, the same amount, but you've played 8 months in a row. But you played just 6 games, and in those 6 games, you didn't probably play the entire minute each game. Some games you played 30, some games you played second half, and you just walk away with that amount. That's the beauty of the competition. So I think for me, good incentive to invest in your personal also capability as a player, what you want to become in the near future. So I think for me, quite impressive,
And speaking of incentives, 10,000 Malangani went to Ngamiso Dlamini, who walked away as the goalkeeper of the tournament. And look, you look at how this guy earned goalkeeper of the tournament, his consistency in goal throughout the tournament. How critical was his composure?
I was telling someone that we don't talk about history when it matters.
Right.
These guys won the competition. I'm trying to remember if it's after just conceding 1 goal or not conceding at all. So even if we can talk about conceding 1 goal,
that's still impressive.
It's still impressive from a goalkeeper of his standards.
Yeah.
And that's when then you say this is quality at its best. I had a chat with the national team head coach, and he says, you know what, we like praising as media, we like praising certain names, but this guy is a good goalkeeper. And he says he's amongst the goalkeeper he will stick to. And that's an eye of a professional coach to say, I've seen the quality of this young man. So I think for me, he deserves it. The saves, the consistency, the leadership in the defense. Because when you're a goalkeeper also, you're a 5th defender. So I think for me, I'm not shocked. Talking about the games I was highlighting, those games against Green Mamba, where Scott just created 100 chances, but this guy gave his best. So 100%. I think for me, this guy was fantastic. And going to the next season, he's improving.
And that's why I was trying to go, because, you speak about his consistency in 6 games. Surely you want it to permeate into other matches and the next season, of course. And it does really look like, as you speak, Real Leopard will continue to be a force to be reckoned with. But that also depends on how the other teams are building up for the next season. It looks as though a lot of teams are preparing, but the conversation may be for Friday. Skumbuzo Shabangu, top goal scorer?
No, it's also shocked. But so when you're a top scorer, it's sometimes we take it for granted to
10,000 Malangani Richa, by the way, yes.
Good amount. Good amount, like
indeed.
Last 32, last 16, last 8 quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals. So 5 to 6 games, you walk away with the prize. I'm not shocked. I think he did his best. I think he deserved it. I mean, he scored the goals. Yes, there were other players we could have seen, but I think for me, that was the best.
For you to not for you to not win the tournament and yet win something, it's beautiful, even for the team, if you think about it.
You were able to maximize within your quarterfinals and semi-finals.
It speaks to individual brilliance, in knockout structures.
And going to the next season, that's what you want to see, competition. When you expected your Scali to be the top scorer, when you expected, the so-called well-known names, then you ask yourself, Isn't it the league that we want? This is what we want.
I love the Inguyama Cup, and you spoke about it being just different in terms of it being able to give these players cards for their brilliance. The referees getting something as well. I think that was my highlight of the night, even though I don't think they were in there on the night, because I think they were announced a couple of times to go and pick up their checks, but they were not there. But Mbongani Shongwa, the referee, got 10,000 Emalangeni, and then assistant referee Mlamuli Idlamini getting 7,000 as the assistant referee.
Quite impressive as well.
Yeah. From your lens, how important is officiating quality tournaments of this magnitude, and did it meet the moment this year?
I mean, currently, Sfiso, I'm just going to divert a little bit to show you how we're growing as a country.
Right.
We've got one of the best referee in the region. When it comes to using VAR, she's the best. Letitia.
Oh, yeah, Letitia.
So this one, she's FIFA and CAF accredited ref. So she's beyond what... She's on the list for Chan now.
She's pro, and
she's
we are semi-pro league.
Yeah, she's gone to the World Women AFCON. She's officiated. She's amongst the best when it comes to using VAR. So not even being mentioned in this competition, for me it says we still have other referees under her belt who can still also deliver a good performance and display. Yes, there will be those concerns from the supporters. No, because we never agree on decisions. But I think we're growing as a country. So Bombong and just the experience being there and officiating in one of those big games, I think for me, it shows where we're going in the country. I'm happy and good standard, and they will improve. Yes, there will be mistakes where people complain, but they will improve.
Because of time, we have to end our conversation here, but we ought to say Bayate Unawa Pagati, yet another successful tournament, echoing the words of the chairperson of Inguyama Cup, Mbanenkosi Hlangabeza there. And also, just key to highlight before I take the ad break, that we did see the best cultural group walking away with 50,000 Emalangeni, as well as the best hosting region going away with 30,000 Emalangeni, the Shisarene region. And that was it, the Inguyama Cup. So other winners as well. Congratulations to everyone that won on the night. Let's go for the break. We'll wrap up the show shortly.
Get ready, Eswatini. The Battle of Brains is back on your screens. The Maban Municipality Council Spelling Bee is back live on Eswatini television.
Please spell the word fairness.
Fairness. F-A-I-R-N-E-S-S.
Witness the spelling mastery, creativity, and determination of our youth as they compete for the top prize.
Please spell the word rebellious.
Rebellious. R-E-B-E-L-L-I-O-U-S.
Don't miss it. Every Tuesday at 5 p.m. starting this July on Eswatini TV.
Nangiyobeleka bekunalomnye sisinde satholana lesibhedlela singadani ukuthi sibelekele umuntu munye.
Ngingasho ukuthi umntwana ngiyamehlika ngimoya. Sathi ngingadomlahle.
Mina bengiphila impilo yokuhlala ngigijima ngaso sonke isikhathi ngekuba bede badala. Ngakumva nami ngitolala naye emapayipini uNkulunkulu tosisiza.
Akabuyele emuva kakhulu ngemaqiniso. Asukuyanyaza dala. Angithethi. Into wathi ngimdala. Akasudlala lo mntwana ngakho.
All right, 57 minutes after 7. Notsile, we are waking up on a brand new week. In fact, a week start on Sunday, really. But we're here. This is the show when we kick off the week. We haven't heard bad news about people's behavior this past weekend.
As yet, we don't know what the week looks like. I hope everybody.
I did a bit of digging. You know, there are some reports that Mopoe Salawa sent out, and you also, of course, we are going to look at the consolidated list of DD on the newspaper tomorrow. Hopefully, that number will be low because it was emphasized that may we please be responsible this weekend, and we did see the police presence on the roads at night and during the day. So we hope that Maswati cooperated.
Yes, and we really discourage drinking and driving, because that's really not
breaking any law, really. Of course, but that one is fate.
Right. And looking at today, I've not received much in terms of activity today, but I am aware that the Ministry of Health will be launching the World Breastfeeding Week for Eswatini this week, so we can expect much activity in that regard. And in terms of just, raising awareness on the importance of breastfeeding, Sifi. So in as much as you probably say it as a topic that doesn't really relate to you much, but I bet you it does. 100%.
Maybe not now, but it certainly will. And by the time that it does, I should be equipped with all the information and the knowledge. So we're always here to learn. 59 minutes after 7. Thank you for waking up with us here on Eswatini TV and for choosing Kusile Breakfast Show to kickstart your day. We hope that you have yourselves a beautiful day. Bye-bye.
Until the next edition, take care.